So how do you do a development project? We are going to talk about how to get a development project going. What's the first thing you need to look for and do, and considerations that you need to think about. So obviously the first step is you need to source development parcels. You need to find the land. That's number one. So you do that through brokers. You do that through driving around looking at property for sale. You do that through creating a list of vacant parcels. A lot of cities and counties have tax parcel data lists where you can look up the parcels and sort them by use and find undeveloped property. So you want to make sure it's in the right area where there's a demand for the product that you want to bring online. You want to fill those holes and fill the demand in your market, like whether it's townhouse, single family, multifamily, commercial, whatever it is. The development process kind of follows the same cycle. So you have to find the land first, then you have to determine what you can do with it. So you want to start with a feasibility analysis, and I made videos on back of the napkin ground up multifamily development, but it all works the same way. You start with the end value and you work it backwards, and you back into what you can pay for your land. So whatever that project's going to be worth at sale, or from an income basis, you need to determine that and then work your numbers backwards to figure out what you can pay for the land and whether or not the project's going to work. Once you decide that the project will work and your basic feasibility analysis is done, then you're going to want to go to the city or county and go through the basic zoning questions and ask about setbacks, lot coverage, height restrictions, parking requirements, access. Are there any traffic studies that need to be done? Are there any Department of Transportation requirements, any Division of Water Quality, environmental concerns, any of that? So you can sit down with the city planning department and the planners and get an idea of those things, also building code requirements, stuff like that. So once you get through that, then you move to the steps of actually hiring architects, engineers. You know, it starts with a site plan. You want to get a civil engineering firm involved to start doing the site planning process and to start laying out your project. So if it's a subdivision, the idea is to maximize the number of lots you can get in the most aesthetically pleasing way. You want the layout to make sense, so you got to make sure that you're not just going after a bunch of lots, but they also have to make sense the way the project and houses or whatever it is you're building are going to set up and lay out. The next step is, if you're building ground up, multifamily building, townhouses, whatever it is, you have to get a footprint established. So that feasibility study that you're doing with the civil engineers helps you determine your footprint and what your building is going to look like, and then you design the building within that footprint. And if you have stock plans, you have to kind of manipulate the site to kind of fit those footprints for the buildings that you already have. So that's a very high level view of the development process. You find the land, you determine if it's going to work, you do your feasibility with the city and county, find out all of the restrictions and requirements and, you know, access and easements and all the different things that are required, water, sewer, utilities, all those different things. Then you got to start with your layouts of your site work. And while you're doing that, you can kind of work with the builders, general contractors from a design build standpoint, or architects, and start reining in your building design and construction costs while you're doing all the other stuff to try to fast track that side of the process while you're working towards your approvals. And that's a big thing. You want to make sure that you're going after development projects in areas where you're not going to have a ton of resistance, and you're relatively assured that you can get your project approved and get it done. And then you got to find the money. You have to go to the banks, get bank financing. If you have to raise equity, you need to know how to raise the capital. Development projects are a little different in terms of the capital requirements, down payments, interest rates, things like that. You got to make sure you've got an experienced, solid team. So that's a high-level view of the development process and how it works. I have lots of videos on how to do the feasibility and other issues that you can check out when it comes to the development process.